Happy container gardening. The weather is getting nice out and the sun is getting warmer and sticking around longer. And so I decided finally to get off my duff and start doing my container gardening. So I'm going to show you really quick what I've already started putting out in the past 2 weeks. Okay, here I have my purple opal heirloom basil. I'll try to grow that again this year. And you'll already see some starting to peek out. Let me see if I can bring the camera in. Can you see them? Can you see those little babies right there? You see them? That little purple baby? Yeah, they're growing. Okay, and the next one I have is lavender. Something that always stymies me, but I try to grow it every year anyway. And this year it's the lavender Provence blue that I'm trying to grow. And so far it's still quiet, it's still sleeping. Today I planted chives, so you don't see anything right now. And over here are the bachelor buttons. They grow fairly fast. So that I'm delighted with. These are chives. Actually, no. These are scallions. And what I do to save, it also saves on money, is that you cut off as much as you can of the green and leave the white with the root. You put it in fresh water. You change the water every couple of days, and the tops grow back. And then I think so. And then over here, what I just planted today is another basil. The first one is the purple. This one's going to be the big flat leaf Italian basil. It'll be nice and green and hopefully leafy in a month or two. And this again is the beginnings of my container garden. And I just anticipate in a couple of months this is going to smell heavenly. I plan to grow other things as well, like maybe some more flowers like dwarf marigolds, and maybe another couple of variations of the basil. And maybe I'll try growing peppermint. Not sure. But it's always fun and exciting, and it's such a life-affirming thing. When the sun gets warmer and stays out longer, things start to grow. You're wondering what type of soil I use. I use various types. I use the American Grow brand garden soil when it's on sale. This is the all-purpose. It will grow flowers and vegetables. I use this as a base to put on most of my plants. But starting them off, if I don't have the little plant starter systems with the little discs, I'll use this. This is a seed starting potting soil, especially formulated for fast root development. And then I'll start to thin out my plants into different pots if I can. Like the bachelor buttons, I'm going to have to start separating soon. They're getting pretty big. So that'll be my next project. Using like specialized tools, you know, you can use tools, there's nothing wrong with it. Me, I use my bare hands. The hands that were given to me, those are the ones I use. And then if I need to dig or pour anything, sometimes I use my little bowls. This I use to till the soil a bit, especially when I pre-moisten it before putting the seeds in, just to get the soil moist but not totally soggy. It helps to distribute the water. That's about it. So now you got to see a little bit of me as far as working on plants. Now, I guess my little plants came from my mom's mother, my grandmother. She always used to have these tons of fragrant purple coleus growing in the window, and she used to have citronella growing in the window, and I always used to smell these scents, and I would be wow, and they would just grow wild and green in her window, and it would cover to the point that it would take up all the sun and block up the sun from coming into the house. It would grow so terrifically. She lived pretty high. I believe she lived on a 12th floor of a 13-story building, so she had unobscured views and she had wonderful sunlight. And my dad is the other memory, and I tell this story from time to time to show the impossibility and how actually what is deemed impossible turns out to be possible. My dad would take orange pits from oranges. He would eat or whatever, and he would always toss them into this potted soil in the living room. And my mom would just say he was kind of crazy, like, you're not going to grow anything from that. And he's like, yeah, those seeds, they will. And then one day, finally, like, one started to grow. And we literally had an orange tree in our apartment in New York City. And I was like the kid that had the orange tree growing in their house. Like, normally these trees grow in Florida or in the warm, climate where they can, prosper and grow and stay warm. This tree was grown indoors. It was an indoor plant. It grew pretty tall too. But it was, a little skinny thing because it hadn't been planted yet outside where it could thrive. And we always used to think about, one day we'd go to Florida. It was like an abstract idea to take the plant down to Florida and plant it out there so it could finally grow to its full reach. And but I remember taking the leaves, and if you took a leaf and you broke the leaf, you immediately smelled the citrus. It smelled so good. Yeah. So when I got older, I would find myself buying seed packets when the spring came around, buy myself a little bit of dirt from the store, and I would just throw the seeds in and see what grew out. And it just gave me a childish pleasure just to see the wonder of things just live, growing out of the dirt and being green and then changing colors and being beautiful and getting taller and stronger. And this satisfaction to it, and a wonder that this little teeny tiny seed, this plant, this flower, this tree came from this teeny tiny seed. Everything it needed, all the information about it was in that teeny tiny seed. It's just amazing. So, because I marvel at that, it's why I continue to have my little container garden and grow things. I guess to honor both my grandmother and my father in a way about, having one hand and one foot still in nature, even though I grew up in an urban environment. The closest vegetation would be Central Park, and Central Park is really not wild. It's a controlled environment for the most part. But at least we have a park. But a garden, that's why I have a membership at the Botanical Gardens, the one in the Bronx, and there's one in Brooklyn. And I love to just wander. Even in the community gardens, I even volunteered for a little while to help out, clean out, and replant for community gardens throughout New York City. And again, it was backbreaking work, but it was also very satisfying to, go into a yard, see that it's messy, clean it up, pull up the weeds, put down fresh vitamin-infused soil, and then just plant these things and just watch everything grow. There's such satisfaction in going to even the community gardens that dot New York City alone. There's a program where you can volunteer and you go, and they already have the soil and the seeds and the materials and the tools, and they just have you go in and you start cleaning up the area and you start prepping it for the spring, and you start planting and putting fresh soil and vitamins into the soil, and you start putting these little seedlings down into the ground. And then at the end you look back and you took pictures of what you walked into, which was virtually a barren mess, and you see it all cleaned up and everything is parceled, and all the plants are together in their proper spots. The ones in the shade stay in the shade, the ones that can grow in full sun are in their full sun, and the trees are looking so beautiful. And it's just a reminder that and even in an urban landscape, there's a touch of civility in a community garden.